fashion industry is in for a rude awakening with new legislation that seeks to clean up Fashion's Act. The European Union's ESPR mandates various eco-design requirements with the goal to reduce the environmental impact of clothing and footwear imported into the region.
Designers play a key role in enabling sustainable and circular fashion. And so to help designers understand this complex ESPR legislation, we collaborated with TAL Apparel to summarise 4 key eco-design requirements that designers can think about at the all-important design stage.
This legislation will affect how garments are designed, made, used, and disposed of. So they will put some kind of mandatory requirements as to what needs to be considered at the product design stage, how it should be manufactured, and then what happens to it at the end of life.
We're going to start at the design stage. What is happening at the design stage to make fashion more circular?
You have to compromise.
Why do you think a top-down approach is really important to drive change with emerging fashion designers?
I think it's very important because we all need guidelines, and hopefully those guidelines will help us accelerate the circularity and the change.
So the time really is now to get ahead and put policy into your practice.
As the ESPR legislation comes into effect, we need to see everyone in the supply chain, from designers to suppliers, taking the steps necessary to ensure that their practices are compliant and fit for the future, more circular fashion industry.
How do you think this legislation will change things for manufacturers?
I think to drive change on sustainability, we really need designers and brands to be focused on sustainability as their primary objective versus the current speed cost model. At TAL, we produce up to 50 million garments a year, and we work with a lot of the leading premium brands in Europe. One of the things that we pride ourselves in TL is sustainability. How do we influence people into designing in a more sustainable way? Designing, creating, manufacturing garments is a hugely complex process. And we work with a lot of different customers who approach that complexity in different ways. So some brands will want to do all of the design independently and just hand over a tech pack and say, go and make this. When you get collaboration, designers coming in, talking to the factories, understanding how products are made, understanding about the materials that are used to create the product, you end up with a better product.
I'm European, so actually learning about the ESPR rules that concerns my continent is very important to me, and that way I can adapt my work and I can adapt the way I will present my collection as well.
I really learned a lot. I think the biggest challenge for us to incorporate eco-design requirements into our design was not only design for aesthetics, but also design as engineers. We have to calculate and make sure each element and each decision is justifiable.
I think it was really educational. For me, I think it enhances the creative process because you're thinking about new solutions and working with what you have, and you think around that problem.
What would be your advice in terms of designers collaborating with their partners?
I think it's very important to listen to the people, to the makers. This idea that the designer is just the god, the creative director, and he's always right, is completely wrong. And I really think collaboration is the key. I think people tend to forget that fashion is a business at the end of the day, and we have to do it right.
Although challenging, the legislation is a game changer and heralds a brighter future for the fashion industry, and designers need to be ready.